Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Brittany Branyan, and I serve as Director of the Carey Center Collegiate and Community Programs, to include the nonprofit affiliate program currently serving over 125 nonprofits in East Alabama and beyond. Welcome to the fifth installment of the Carey Center Summer Fundraising Series, an online giving Q&A. Before we begin, I would like to share a little more about the nonprofit affiliate program for those of you who are unfamiliar. The Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliate Program fosters a community of educators, professionals, organizations, and students who have a desire to embody philanthropy, nonprofit studies, and leadership in their professional and personal lives. We provide professional development and networking opportunities to members, to include Mix and Mingles, the Carey Center Volunteer Internship and Career Fair, also known as Meet Me at the Vic, and the Carey Center Nonprofit Summit. In addition to these events, now more than ever, we are focusing on professional development and learning opportunities, to include our Summer Fundraising Series and the Nonprofit Affiliate Book Club. Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliates are the first to learn of upcoming programming, and membership is free. I will include information on how to join the Nonprofit Affiliate Program and would be delighted to have the pleasure of working with you, especially as we navigate this challenging time. We have some exciting developments to announce soon, and I would love for you to be the first to know. Now, let's get to the reason you're all here. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker. Ryan King is the Digital Philanthropy Strategist in Auburn University's Office of Development. He works with schools and colleges to improve online giving and engagement. Ryan created Tiger Giving Day, Auburn's annual day of giving, to highlight the diversity of causes that need funding across the university. As a consultant before joining Auburn, he advised nonprofit organizations on communication strategy, online fundraising, and email marketing. Prior to that, he was the director of new media at the Southern Poverty Law Center. Ryan has a journalism degree from the University of Missouri. We are thankful he took the time to join us today and share his knowledge. And without any further delay, please help me welcome Ryan King.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you for the Carey Center for having me. Good morning, everyone. We'll see if we can make this screen share thing work here. Hopefully you are seeing a home page and something has my name on it. Can somebody give me a thumbs up to make sure? Okay, great. As Brittany said, we're talking about online giving today, and the great thing about online marketing is that it is flexible. So if you have any questions during this, feel free to jump in. We'll make sure those are taken care of. I thought today we would tackle the two most common questions I get. I think we'll have time at the end if you have any other questions. But today we're primarily going to talk about how do you build an email appeal? What are the pieces and parts, the elements of an email, or really any email? And when to send that email? What is the best day and time of day to send a solicitation? And I'll tell you the answer. Email marketing, it's been around for a while. And every year we hear that social media, text to give, whatever the next thing is going to eclipse email marketing. It hasn't happened yet. It's still the most important tool we have. And if you're not building lists and communicating directly to your audience with email, you need to start. The first barrier to entry on an email, because you want people to read it and you want people to open it. The first barrier to entry is the subject line. And this is not like sending an email to a colleague. The people you're sending an email to are under no obligation to open it. Most of them won't. You know, if more than 10% of your audience are opening your email, you're doing pretty good. 10% is not bad. And like when you send an email to a colleague, you know, where a succinct summary of the contents of the email is appreciated. You know, if you say next year's budget, people appreciate that. They can go through their email. This is different. That's not what this is. You need to sell the contents of your email. Sometimes a very straightforward, descriptive subject line, sometimes that works. Your tickets for tonight. That's straightforward, it's descriptive, and it's valuable to the reader. But the subject, the contents of your email, is inherently compelling. It's valuable to them. But that's not always the case. You know, you can say our fall newsletter. That's straightforward. It's descriptive, but it's not necessarily compelling to the reader. It may be compelling to you, but to them, that's not really compelling. So that's where you need to put some creativity into it. Maybe highlight an article from that newsletter that's particularly interesting. But what's interesting to you may not be interesting to them. A few things to do when creating a subject line. These are rules of thumb, and the internet is changing all the time. And so these are changing all the time. These seem to work well for now, but you may find success in breaking all of these rules. But for us, for our program, these work well now. 5 words or less. Be succinct. You only have so much space. Pack what you can into that space. I've seen 1-word subject lines work well. Recently, marketers realized that young people had discovered Lionel Richie, and hello became a subject line that was really popular for a while. But be creative and use the space. But realize you only have so much space. Try to be compelling and useful. Compelling and useful is the holy grail of a subject line. And if you can do that, if you can create something that catches someone's eye and also tells them, this is useful, I want to be a part of this, that's what you need to do. Personalization, if you have that in your donor database, if you have that information, personalization works well, especially location. If you're a regional or a national organization and you can localize the subject line, state, city. You know, if you deal with animals and you happen to know what kind of pet they have, anything to make it more useful to them and to catch their eye. Thank you. Thank you always works well. There's no need to dress up thank you. If you're actually thanking someone, just say thank you. People appreciate it. Emails that say thank you are opened more than anything else. It's genuine and people understand what you're saying. And test your subject lines. If you have 2 different ideas, send the first one to a group of emails, send the other one, see which works best. There's guessing isn't going to help you on this. You should test everything and see what your audience does. Okay, those are the do's. These are the don'ts. Or, as I'm calling them, a most amazing opportunity for you. Fire emoji. Punctuation in a subject line can be effective. Question marks work well. But use punctuation appropriately. Certainly don't use more than 1. Exclamation points in general, although this has been changing, it used to be a hard and fast rule. Don't use an exclamation point. Some people are getting away with it now, but generally I try to stay away from exclamation points. Overuse of adjectives is something to avoid. If you have a wonderful event, you could describe it as that in the body of the email, but in the subject line, it's just an event or a party or whatever it is. You don't need to really try to sell it. All caps, avoid all caps. You know, robots and machines write in all caps. People don't write in all, well, people shouldn't write in all caps, you know, unless they're angry, and no one wants to read those either. So all caps is going to be a flag to an email client that this is probably not something the person wants to read. So try to avoid those. Acronyms can even sometimes be a problem. So realize that what may be an acronym to you may look like something else to a spam filter. Personalization. Hopefully someone's saying, did he just say personalization is a good thing? Basically, use it wisely. Don't be creepy. You know, we have information about donors, and there are people that we don't know personally, and you don't want to act as if you do know them personally. You know, if you put a first name in a subject line, and sometimes that's appropriate. Sometimes it's weird, and the reader is going to say, wait a minute, I don't have a personal relationship with this person. So it's a judgment call how you personalize a subject line. It can work really well, or it can go the other way. Try not to assign value to things. Saying something is free in particular is usually a flag, but even saying, you know, this item has a $50 value, or we're giving this to you for only such and such. Those usually find their way to the spam folder. During the last presidential election, we saw a lot of fake forwards and fake responses. It's a gimmick. I don't know if we'll see it again, but email clients have gotten wise to this. The strategy was, and it worked really well for a while, was that you send out an email and you make it look like a forward, like this person is forwarding you this important email, or they're actually responding to you, when really it was just a marketing email. Probably should avoid those things. And unfortunately, the word donate has become a flag lately. Give and help seem to work well, but donate has been getting flagged lately. And like I said before, these are changing all the time. I put a fire emoji up there. I don't know if emojis, and is emoji the plural of emoji? I'm not sure. If anybody knows, you know, let us know. But I don't know if they are good or bad. I've seen reports both ways. I don't know if they put you in the spam folder. I don't know if they increase conversion rates. You know, I think we need to wait a few years, and maybe in 5 years they'll be in every subject line. I don't know. I tend not to use them. But if you're ever wondering, you know, since these do change, what should we not be doing today? Open up your spam folder, see what's in there. Don't do any of those things. That's to know how you're current. Beyond the subject line, the next most important thing is the sender of the email. Individuals tend to work better for open rates than institutions. That's not always the case. But we go both ways depending on the audience. You know, some audiences won't be familiar with the individual, but if you have an individual who you know is familiar to your audience, that's the best way to go. Preview text. Preview text is the little snippet of text that appears below the subject line. Not everyone is going to see this. Different email clients present it differently. Some people have Outlook or however they read their emails configured not to display it. But where it's really important is mobile. People reading or scrolling through their emails on their phone really look at preview text. If you don't put preview text in there, what happens is it's going to grab the first couple lines from your email, and that's not always the best thing. Sometimes it grabs a little bit of code that may be describing an image or something. So since you can control this, you should put in preview text. And it works with the sender and the subject line to make a pitch for your email for it to be opened. The more they work together, the better. I looked at this Missouri email where it says it asks a question in the subject line and then it answers the question in the preview. I thought that was pretty neat. I don't know what results they got from that. But make use of the preview text, whether you think people are seeing it or not, because people on their phones are definitely reading this and it's going to affect your open rates. Salutation. So I've seen reports from people who work in other sectors that beginning any email with a dear so-and-so is a straight ticket to the spam folder. People aren't going to read it. We haven't had that experience. I don't know if that's because there's a degree of formality in academia and people kind of expect that. I do know that emails with a salutation convert at a higher rate for us. So for us, it's worth doing. If you want to be more informal here and use first name, make sure your data is correct. If you send an email to Chris and you started out with Dear Christopher, you're probably not accomplishing what you want to. So look at your data, see what you have. Certainly a personalized approach works better than, dear friend, dear supporter, but do what you can. Also, for me, the value of a salutation is it helps frame what you're doing as a writer. We have software that can send email to thousands of addresses, but we're writing to one person. And ideally, we would send a personal email to everybody. That's just not feasible. But if you start out while you're writing, Dear Mr. King, it helps you as a writer keep going back to that and think, I'm writing to this person. I'm not writing to a group of people, because everybody tends to start doing that. You think you're writing for a brochure or something else. You're writing a letter to one person, and it needs to be personal. So think about that. We tend to make our emails look like correspondence. That works best for us. It can be difficult to establish a relationship to somebody with an overly designed or an overly corporate looking email. And overly designed things can also be spam flags. I know there are algorithms set up to detect changes in font colors and things like that. So make it look like correspondence. We do use images in our emails when appropriate, but an image should always be extra. Make sure you are not trapping any critical parts of your message in an image, because many people will never see it. There are corporate firewalls that block them entirely. There are other firewalls that give people the option to download them. If you send me an email at Auburn and it has a bunch of images in it, I'm going to get a message that says, do you want to download the image? Many times I get a message that says, do you want to download the images? And the message appears blank because someone has encapsulated their entire message in a graphic because they wanted it to look a certain way, but the whole message is there. And by doing so, they have blocked a lot of their audience from reading that message. So if you use images, make sure they are accents, make sure they reinforce your message, but they are not your message. Body copy of an email appeal. We could spend all day talking about nonprofit copywriting. But basically what you want to do is tell a story if you can. It should have a beginning, a middle, an end, and the copy should be building up to that end. It should culminate in something. Present a, excuse me, present a problem and explain how your reader can be part of the solution to that problem. And make it emotional. This needs to be an emotional read, especially if you're asking for a donation. You know, donation is not a normal transaction. It's, you know, they're not getting anything in return. And so it's a gift, and gift giving is emotional. And so this needs to be an emotional experience when they read it. The call to action at the end of the email, remember, you've been building up to this. So this should come as no surprise to the reader. When they get to this part, they should be expecting it. And don't hint at what you want them to do. Be explicit. And make sure that they can act on it. You know, you don't want to tell somebody you've motivated them in the email. You say, we need your gift today. They're motivated, they're ready to do it, but then they can't figure out how to do it. So make sure they can act upon your action. That's why buttons have become important. Years ago, we didn't see too many buttons in email appeals, but now that most appeals are being read on a phone, and people like me have trouble clicking on text links, that's where buttons become important, just because someone can click that with their thumb and it makes it an easier practice. But call to action, that's the point of the entire thing. Make sure it's there. Then, before you send anything, make sure you test your email. Test it on a desktop, test it on mobile, see what it looks like in Outlook, what it looks like in Gmail, what it looks like in Yahoo, and become comfortable with ambiguity, you know, because it is going to look different everywhere. You know, I know a lot of people have a boss or an executive director that wants to see the email. Sometimes they want to see it printed out, and they say, well, there's a space here, and this needs to be fixed, and this needs to be fixed. And do what you need to do, fix it for them, but understand it's going to look different somewhere else. There is software that can help you and that can show you what it looks like in all these different email clients and different formats. But an easier thing to do is send it to friends and colleagues. You know, get a Gmail account, get a Yahoo account, test it on a Mac, test it on a PC. you know people with all these devices. Use your own network and see what it looks like. And then once you're comfortable, then you can send your email. The big question is, when do you send your email? A lot of people want to know this. A lot of people ask, and there are a lot of people that will tell you an answer, and it's somewhat of a closely guarded industry secret as to when to send an email. And the truth is, nobody knows. Nobody knows when to send an email. You know, there are truisms. You know, don't send on a Monday morning. People are getting ready for the week. They don't want to see your email. Don't send on a Friday afternoon. People are getting ready for the weekend. They don't want to read your email. Don't send on a holiday. People are doing other things. Don't send on the day before a holiday. They're getting ready for the holiday. Don't send on the day after the holiday. They're recuperating from the holiday. Don't send on a Sunday morning. Don't send on a Saturday morning, especially if it's football season. Definitely don't send on a Saturday night. All of these are based on assumptions. And they're not based on your audience. You know, maybe you have an audience of retirees and your Monday morning email is exactly what they're waiting for. You don't know. And MyEmma or Constant Contact or whatever you might use, you know, they'll tell you that the best time to send an email is Wednesday morning at 10 a.m., which is, you know, the ultimate middle ground in email send times. And they've done that based on averages of all of their different audiences, none of whom may resemble your audience. So what you need to do is look at your audience and look at what they have in common. Do they all go to PTA on the same night? Do they all go to Scouts on the same night? Do they all worship at the same time? Do they all watch Survivor? You know, what are the things that they have in common? Those are your exclusions. So exclude those. And then if you want, start at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, but send one of those and then send again Wednesday afternoon. See how that compares. Compare Wednesday morning to Thursday morning. Compare Wednesday afternoon to Thursday afternoon. So you have to find the spot for your audience. And if anybody tells you that the most successful time to send an email is Wednesday morning, they're either talking about an average because they've seen an email provider say this is what works the best, or they're talking about their audience. So the secret is you need to figure it out. Talk to your audience, see what works. That's all I really have as far as how to build an email, when to send an email. You can find me online if you have questions later, and I think we have time for any questions now, if anybody has anything.
Yes, so I'll start real quickly. Kim asked a question. So when you were showing the email and it had the AU logo at the top, she was asking what software was used to send the email, because it looks like stationary as opposed to an advertisement, and it looks, it's very readable. So
yeah, and that's intentional. Like I said, we do try to make our email look like correspondence. Currently, we use a package called iModules, which is for higher ed institutions, very high volume. We're moving off of that into something else soon. But any email package, MyEmma, Constant Contact, any of those can do this. Any email software can help you build an email and make it look however you want. They may encourage you, just because their software can do it, to overly design it, put a bunch of elements in there. This is really your restraint in using their tool.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Feel free to unmute yourself, or if you would prefer to drop something in the chat, I can read it for you. I took a ton of notes. Let me look at my notes. So I had a question about emojis. As a millennial, I overuse them for sure. And I have been using MailChimp just to start because we just started sending emails to everyone. And they did suggest that you use it, but again, like you said, it may just be like a trial and error thing. But I have found that the 2 times I used it, the open rate was not as much. And just for everyone to know, our open rate is 25%. And I
Which
thought
is really good.
which is really reassuring to hear. I thought it was awful. And Kim with the Women's Philanthropy Board, hers is much higher. I think it's in the 40s, which is like mind blowing to me. But I just wanted to share that I did actually look back, and I love having MailChimp that or something that I'm able to look back and see the open rates and all of that information, because I like to use that data to kind of gauge where I am and what I'm doing since we're so new at it. So I will say it was not helpful for those 2 times I used it.
I think emojis, I just think it's too soon to tell, and marketers are trying all sorts of things. And I think, if they take their audience, the younger part of their audience is probably saying, "Oh, hey," and opening that, and then the older part is looking at it and saying, "I don't want to open that." So I think it's going to be a couple years before we know definitively what an emoji does for us.
I agree. That's a really good point. We have a question from Ashley. First of all, she said, "Thank you. This is also very helpful." She asked, "Is it okay to use exclamation marks in the body of the email as long as they are not overused?"
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there are spam filters that look into the body of an email, but they really can't parse language. They may look for certain phrases. They look for how you style text. But certainly, if you're using punctuation correctly in the body of an email, go for it.
Perfect. I have another question. So most of our programming is free, and I am guilty of having expressed that before. And I feel like a lot of nonprofits on this call may have a similar thing where they think, "Oh, if something's free, I'm going," but maybe your constituents don't feel the same way. How would you suggest, for example, when I'm advertising programs like this, how should I say, get the point across that there's no charge, but in a way that doesn't turn them off?
Yeah, and it's not so much concern about turning them off. It's about hitting that sweet spot in an algorithm where it doesn't decide that you're trying to give away things, or probably more accurately, sell things and make people think you're giving away things. Unfortunately, spammers have taken that tactic as saying, free, 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 and it's really not. So I think in a subject line, if you want to address it, you need to come up with another way to term it. Maybe it's a special benefit, maybe it's a membership benefit, something that's special to them, but you're not denoting value to it. And then, of course, in the body of the email, because that subject line, all it's for is to open the email. This is what email marketers or new email marketers really struggle with is, I haven't adequately described my message, and you don't have to. You only want people to open it. That's your first barrier. Your second challenge is accurately describing things and selling things once they get into the message. But you do not need to accurately or succinctly or completely describe what you're trying to do in the subject line. You just want the open.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ashley asks a great question. You're reading my mind, Ashley. She said, what about highlighting, bolding, and underlining text in the body?
Do not underline unless it's a link. You know, people that came from direct mail where underlines are used quite a bit, want to use an underline in an email message. On the internet, underline means a link. Do not underline unless it is a link. Bolds, certainly. Highlighting, you can do, but it's not going to work everywhere. So different email clients have, they use style sheets differently, and what may work to highlight text in Gmail is not going to work in Yahoo, or is not going to work in Outlook. So you can do it, but get comfortable with the fact that it's not going to look the same everywhere. But bold, definitely. Bold, centering things, anything to call out and highlight text is good.
I like what you said about centering things. I've tried that before, and I personally like the way it looks. So I'm interested to see what other people think. And I think Laura Ann has something to say.
Hey, Ryan, thank you so much for this. I have always wondered about punctuation in the subject line, and I'm glad to finally know no punctuation in the subject line. My question for you is, our email database is not robust enough. We just don't have the information to know, to have all names entered. Mm-hmm. So I almost always, in the example that we're being shared right now, would just start with normally, comma, College of Education students, with no salutation, because I personally don't like dear friend, dear library supporter, whatever
Right.
That would be. Do you suggest having no salutation or a general salutation if a name is not an option?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want the email to accomplish. We've found in fundraising emails that a salutation converts at a higher rate, gets more donations, basically. If it's an informational email or something else, it may not be as important. And I would say, the first example you said was educational students. I would always make it singular. I would always keep in mind that you're writing to one person and never make that plural. Some people do have luck with dear friend, dear supporter. We have found that if you can use a name, it works better than that. But of course, my experience is all in fundraising revenue. And if it's an informational email, that may not make a difference.
That's a great point. Thank you so much. Most of the emails I send out are informational, but I will say I still got a ton of advice out of this, especially on when to send your email. I think some of them kind of make sense, but now I'm going to pay more attention to marking the days I do it and the times I do it and comparing that, just like I do with the subject line and everything else, just to see which has a higher open rate.
Yeah, I mean, people will tell you not to send email on the weekend. Try it and see what happens. If you go to the grocery store on game day, everybody says, "Hey, there's nobody out." Well, there are people in the grocery store on game day. They're different than the people who are there on Friday night preparing for game day, but there's people there. So there's different audiences for everything. And so, try the weekend, see what happens.
That's definitely my favorite time to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
No one's there. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, we have one from Kim. If you were writing regarding a weekend event, then the weekend might make sense. I love the thought that Monday morning, this is more of a comment. I love the thought about Monday mornings for retirees, but not for anyone working. Yeah, that does make sense. I wonder when most of you all would open my emails. I definitely think Wednesday at 10 wouldn't be a great time because that's when we always have our educational programs. But I also agree, if I'm getting an email on a Monday morning, I'm not reading it. If it's Friday afternoon, I'm definitely, if it's after 12 on a Friday, usually mentally I'm checked out, so I'm not reading an email. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyone else? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up if we don't have any more questions. And Ryan, if you don't mind putting the screen up with your LinkedIn information while I'm closing, if you don't mind. So perfect. So everyone can go ahead and take a look at that and find Ryan on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. And let me find. All right. So thanks again for joining us today to learn more about online giving, especially when it comes to emails. Please join me in thanking Ryan for preparing and presenting today. I know I learned so much. And if you have any additional questions or comments, feel free to contact him as you see his LinkedIn information right up there, or you can always email me at branyba@auburn.edu. Please join us next Wednesday, June 29th at 10 a.m. as Cary Center philanthropist in residence, Greg Depke, hosts the third installment of 4 Steps of Donor Fundraising, Salutation. To register, please email me. Again, my email is branyba@auburn.edu. And thank you all for joining us today and taking time to come and learn a little bit about how to optimize your online giving and emails. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.